It's like I'm caught in a loop I can't break out of. Every month, the same dance plays out, paycheck hits the account, bills start rolling in, and by the time I'm done paying rent, utilities, groceries, and the essentials, I'm left staring at a nearly empty balance, wondering where it all went. I try to budget, I really do. But it's like chasing a shadow that keeps moving further away. I'm 26 now, and I still remember the way I used to dream. Back when I first got my job, there was this naive spark of hope that if I just worked hard enough, saved enough, I could start building a life that didn't feel so fragile. I thought maybe I'd finally move out of that cramped apartment, maybe start traveling, maybe even save for a down payment on a place of my own someday. But those dreams? They've been pushed further and further back, smothered under the weight of constant financial pressure. The economy doesn't make it easy. Rent keeps going up, faster than my salary ever will. Groceries aren't getting cheaper. And then there are the unexpected expenses, a broken phone screen, a medical bill, car repairs, that hit like a sucker punch. Every little thing chips away at what little margin I have. It feels like the system is designed to keep me just barely afloat, never quite letting me get ahead. Some days I feel this crushing sense of failure, even though I know I'm doing my best. I see friends posting about their vacations, new apartments, buying cars or gadgets I can't even imagine affording. Social media is a double-edged sword. It connects me to people but also reminds me how far behind I feel. It's hard not to compare. I try to remind myself that everyone's got their own battles, but it doesn't erase the sting. Financial pressure isn't just about money. It spills over into everything: how I sleep, how I eat, even how I interact with others. There are nights when anxiety keeps me awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'll cover next month's rent or what will happen if my job hours get cut. I sometimes skip meals or buy the cheapest food just to stretch what I have. Socializing becomes a luxury. I avoid gatherings because I can't afford to eat out or contribute anything, and I don't want to be the one saying no all the time. The emotional toll is exhausting. I want to believe that if I just buckle down, tighten my belt more, things will get better, but it never feels like enough. I carry this low-grade stress that never really goes away. I'm constantly calculating, prioritizing, sacrificing. And yet, every month, the math doesn't add up to freedom, just survival. Sometimes, to cope, I lose myself in small distractions, binge-watching shows, scrolling through social media, reading books from the library. It's a way to escape for a little while, to forget the constant pressure. But the moment I put the phone down, reality comes crashing back. I've also learned to ask for help when I can, reaching out to family, leaning on friends when they offer support. It's hard admitting that I'm struggling, that I don't have it all together, but I've realized vulnerability is the only way forward sometimes. Despite all this, I still hold on to hope, even if it's faint and flickering. I dream of a day when I won't have to count every penny, when I can stop saying no to things I want to do. I want to save enough to travel, to see the world beyond this city, to feel like I'm not trapped. I want to have a space that feels like mine, a home where I'm not constantly worried about the next rent hike. I'm trying to believe that the sacrifices I make now aren't forever, that maybe someday, the system won't feel so stacked against me. That my hard work will finally pay off, that I can build a life that feels a little less like survival and a little more like living. But for now, I keep moving forward, even when it feels impossible. Because what else can I do? Giving up isn't an option, even if the weight of the world feels heavy on my shoulders every day. Maybe one day, I'll look back on this time and see it as the fire that forged me. Until then, I'll keep fighting, dreaming, and hoping. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I wake up every morning to the same cramped ceiling, the same peeling paint in my tiny apartment that I can barely afford. The air feels heavy, even before I open my eyes fully. There's this dull ache in my chest, not quite sadness, not quite anxiety, but a gnawing, persistent reminder that I'm trapped. Trapped in a cycle where no matter how hard I push, I'm not getting ahead. I'm 27, working a job that pays just enough to keep the lights on and food in the fridge, but never enough to breathe easy. The economic world around me seems like a beast growing faster than I can keep up with. Rent goes up every 6 months, grocery prices climb every week. And my income? It's barely nudged since I got this job 2 years ago. I remember when I first started, I had dreams, big ones. I thought by now I'd have a little savings, maybe even a plan to move out of this city or start my own business. But those plans have been pushed farther and farther into some vague future I can't quite reach. Everyday decisions are shaped by this pressure. Should I skip lunch to save $10? Should I take the bus instead of the subway even if it means an extra half hour standing outside in the cold? Should I buy the generic brand at the supermarket or risk running out of food by stretching my dollars too thin? Sometimes, I stare at my bank app and feel like crying. The number is a constant reminder of how fragile my footing is. I know I'm not alone in this feeling, but it doesn't make it hurt less. There are days when the weight of it all feels unbearable. When I'm lying in bed after a 12-hour shift, I replay every choice, every expense, wondering if I could have done better. I scroll through social media, seeing friends post pictures of weekend trips or new apartments, and it stings, not because I'm jealous of their lives, but because those milestones feel so out of reach. The gap between my reality and those moments is like a chasm that keeps widening. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever cross it. I keep a tight budget, of course. Every dollar is accounted for, and every expense is debated. I've learned to live with less meat, less coffee, fewer nights out. My social life has shrunk because fun often means spending money I don't have. Birthdays, holidays, celebrations, I attend with a smile, but inside I'm calculating how many hours of work they cost me. It's exhausting, this constant math of survival. Still, I try to find moments of joy in the little things. A walk in the park, a shared meal with a close friend, a good book borrowed from the library. These are my escapes, brief respites where the pressure fades, and I can remind myself that life isn't just about dollars and cents. But even those moments are tinged with the knowledge that the next day, the same challenges will be waiting. The hardest part is the uncertainty. I don't have a safety net. If my job changed tomorrow, if a big bill came in, I don't know how I'd manage. That lack of security is a constant shadow, making it hard to plan or dream. Sometimes I think about going back to school, maybe switching careers to something that pays better or offers stability. But tuition, fees, and the cost of living while studying make it feel impossible. It's like the system is designed to keep me here, stuck, scraping, hoping for a break that might never come. I used to dream of owning a home, traveling, even starting a family someday. Now those dreams feel like luxuries for people with more time, more money, more freedom. I've had to put them on hold indefinitely, tucking them away in a mental box labeled "maybe someday." It's painful to admit, but I don't know when or if that someday will come. Still, I hold on to a fragile hope. Maybe if I keep going, keep pushing, I'll find a way out. Maybe one day the economy will shift, or I'll get that raise or a better job opportunity. Until then, I'll keep making the hard choices, skipping that extra coffee, saying no to nights out, working overtime when I can, all to keep the wheels turning, one day at a time. This is my reality, a balancing act on a thin wire stretched over a widening gap between where I am and where I want to be. It's exhausting and sometimes lonely, but it's mine to live. And I hope that by sharing this, someone else out there might know they're not alone, that this struggle is real, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed. Because beneath the financial pressure, beneath the exhaustion and fear, there's still a flicker of resilience. And maybe that's enough to keep me moving forward, for now. It's hard to put into words what living under constant financial pressure feels like a weight that's never quite off your chest, a background hum of anxiety that never fades. I'm 26, working a full-time job, trying to keep up, but somehow I'm always behind. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up every month while my legs get heavier and heavier. Every day feels like a balancing act. I wake up, check my bank app, and brace myself for the reality of my account balance. Bills are due, rent is higher than I'd like to admit, and groceries somehow cost more than they used to. Inflation is a term I used to hear on the news, a distant concept, but now it's the force dictating almost every choice I make. I used to think if I just worked hard, saved a little, maybe put money aside here and there, I'd get ahead. But the truth is, the cost of living has climbed faster than any raise I've ever gotten. I live paycheck to paycheck, and the fear of an unexpected expense, like a car repair, a medical bill, or even a broken phone, looms large. I remember last winter when my heater broke down during a brutal cold snap. Fixing it wasn't optional. I had to use credit cards, which just made the debt spiral worse. The interest rates felt like a trap, tightening around me more every day. It's exhausting. It's not just the numbers on the screen, it's how this pressure eats into my emotional well-being. There are nights I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the rent that's due in a few days or the fact that my phone's battery barely lasts a few hours now. Simple things, buying a coffee with friends, going out to eat, even saying yes to invitations, become weighed-down decisions. I don't want to be the no person, but most times, that's the role I end up playing. It isolates you, even when you don't want it to. Some days, the stress feels paralyzing. I wake up hoping for some kind of miracle, maybe a raise, a better job, or just a break in the relentless rise of expenses, but it rarely comes. I catch myself scrolling through social media and seeing friends traveling, buying homes, or just living comfortably. And while I'm genuinely happy for them, there's a gnawing feeling inside me that I'm stuck in place, watching life move forward without me. This feeling of being trapped is suffocating. The system feels rigged, like it's designed so expenses outpace income, making it nearly impossible to build savings or plan for the future. I see people say, just budget better, but the truth is, when rent takes half your paycheck and utilities, food, and transportation swallow the rest, there's little left to adjust. Budgeting isn't magic. It's a game where the rules keep changing, and I'm always one step behind. Coping with this pressure has become a daily mental exercise. I try to focus on small wins, packing lunch instead of eating out, canceling streaming subscriptions I barely use, or taking a walk instead of paying for a gym membership. I've become hyper-aware of every dollar spent, which is both empowering and exhausting. It's like living life in grayscale, where every choice is practical, necessary, or not. There's also a constant fear of judgment. It's hard to talk openly about financial struggles when the stigma around money is so strong. People assume if you're struggling, it's because you're lazy or irresponsible, which couldn't be further from the truth. I work hard, sometimes 2 jobs, and still feel like I'm barely treading water. This silence only makes the loneliness deeper. My dreams feel like distant echoes now. I once imagined traveling the world, going back to school for a degree I truly cared about, maybe even buying a small home one day. Those dreams have been pushed to the back burner, postponed indefinitely. Right now, I just want to be stable enough to think about the future without that knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. But despite everything, I hold on to hope. Hope that someday, the system will be kinder, that wages will catch up with reality, and that my hard work will translate into something more than just surviving. I remind myself that this isn't a personal failure but a symptom of a larger problem. Sometimes, I talk with friends or online communities who share similar struggles, and those conversations remind me I'm not alone. I'm learning to be gentle with myself, to recognize that surviving in this environment is an achievement in itself. I'm trying to find moments of joy even in small things, a good book, a call with a loved one, or a sunset. These moments don't erase the struggle, but they make the burden lighter. If I could say one thing to anyone reading this, it's this: financial pressure isn't just about numbers, it's about human lives, dreams deferred, and quiet resilience. It's okay to feel vulnerable and overwhelmed. It's okay to ask for help and to hope for better days. Because, beneath all the stress and exhaustion, there's still a person who deserves to live fully, not just survive. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to keep going. I never thought I'd feel so small in a world that's supposed to be full of possibilities. I'm 26, working full-time, living in a city that's always humming with energy, but somehow, I feel stuck, like I'm running in place while everything around me speeds up. The bills pile up faster than I can keep up, and no matter how hard I try, the numbers never quite add up. It's this constant pressure, this relentless weight pressing down on me every single day. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing that hits me isn't the warm sunlight or the sound of birds. It's the mental checklist that starts running: rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, student loan payments, phone bill, insurance, and that's before I even get to work. My paycheck stretches out like a tightrope, and I'm scared of falling. Every expense feels like a trap closing in tighter. Even small things, like grabbing coffee with a friend or going out for dinner, feel like luxuries I can't afford. And that's what stings the most, watching life happen around me while I try to convince myself it's okay to miss out. The economic environment feels like this giant tide I'm powerless against. Prices go up and up, but my salary doesn't follow the same rhythm. Every week, gas prices inch higher, groceries cost more, and rent jumps again. I hear about inflation, recession, economic growth, but for me, it's just the quiet gnawing in my gut when I open the fridge and realize I need to choose between fresh veggies or that little extra treat that might make the week a bit bearable. It's exhausting. Exhausting in a way that sinks into your bones. I sometimes feel like I'm fighting a battle I can't win, like I'm stuck in a maze with no clear exit. I thought after college I'd be stepping into a life where I could build, grow, maybe even save a bit. Instead, I'm constantly juggling, hoping nothing unexpected breaks the fragile balance. A car repair, a medical bill, or even a broken phone could push me off the edge. I've learned to be frugal in ways I never imagined. I clip coupons, I hunt for sales, I meal prep like it's an Olympic sport. I skip birthdays, holidays, and even social gatherings just to save money. I tell my friends I'm busy or cutting back, but really, I'm afraid of the added expense. The isolation is hard. There's this lingering feeling that I'm missing out on what everyone else seems to enjoy without a second thought. But it's not just about the money, it's the emotional toll. I wake up some mornings feeling anxious, wondering how I'll make it through the month. I lie awake at night, calculating numbers in my head, trying to plan for emergencies that might never come but could destroy me if they do. It's a cloud of worry that follows me everywhere, making it hard to fully relax or dream. Speaking of dreams, that's the hardest part to accept. I used to have so many. Traveling, moving to a new city, going back to school for a master's degree, saving to buy my own place someday. Now, those dreams feel distant, almost naive. I've had to postpone them indefinitely, tuck them away for a time when money isn't the biggest obstacle. Sometimes I wonder if that time will ever come. Will I ever be able to take that trip, invest in myself, or build a life that feels secure? Coping with all this is a daily grind. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone, even though it often feels that way. I talk with close friends when I can, though I'm careful about how much I share because I don't want to sound like a downer. I find small joys, a walk in the park, a good book, a quiet moment with music, things that don't cost money but can ease the pressure, even if just for a little while. Sometimes, when the weight gets too much, I let myself cry, because bottling it up only makes it worse. I want to believe there's a light at the end of this tunnel. I want to believe that if I keep pushing, keep working hard, things will get better. But some days, the system feels like it's designed to keep me trapped, to keep people like me just getting by but never truly thriving. It's not just about personal failure or bad choices, it's about an economic reality that's bigger than me and feels indifferent to my struggles. Still, I hold on to hope. Not the naive kind, but the stubborn kind that says, this isn't forever. I remind myself that every small step, every dollar saved, every moment of resilience, is part of a longer journey. I cling to the vision of a future where I'm not constantly scared of the next bill, where I can breathe freely and chase the dreams I've had to set aside. For now, I take it one day at a time, trying to be gentle with myself amid the chaos. I may be caught in a system that's overwhelming and unfair, but I'm still here, still fighting, and still hoping. Because if I give up on hope, then what's left? I never thought I'd be here, feeling this way, like I'm caught in a tide I can't swim against. Every month, every paycheck feels like a race I'm losing before it even begins. The numbers don't add up anymore, and the weight of it presses down so hard I sometimes wonder if I'm just going to break. I'm in my mid-20s, living in a city that's supposed to be full of opportunity, but lately it just feels like a trap. Rent keeps climbing, groceries are more expensive, and every little bill, electricity, phone, internet, somehow takes a bigger bite out of my paycheck than it did last year. And I'm not even making more. The last raise I got was barely enough to cover the rise in inflation. I keep hoping things will get better, but the economic headlines tell a different story. Prices are up, wages are stagnant, and the cost of living is outpacing everything else. Every morning, I wake up and start the mental checklist. Can I afford that coffee today? Should I eat out or pack a lunch? Do I have enough to cover gas this week? These might sound like small things, but they add up, and they weigh heavily on my mind. The choice between buying fresh vegetables or canned goods isn't about preference, it's about what I can actually afford without scraping the bottom of my account. It's exhausting. Living like this isn't just about numbers, it's a constant state of stress. I lie awake some nights, my mind racing through every expense, every decision. Did I really need to buy that sweater? Could I have waited? Should I take on extra hours at work even if it means less sleep and more exhaustion? It's a cycle of anxiety and sacrifice that never feels like it ends. I used to dream about things, traveling, maybe going back to school to finish my degree, even just having the freedom to save a little money each month. But those dreams feel distant now, like something other people get to have, not me. I had to postpone signing up for that coding bootcamp I was excited about because the cost was just too much right now. I had to tell my family I couldn't visit over the holidays because the plane ticket was too expensive. It feels like I'm always pushing my own happiness and growth further down the line, indefinitely. Sometimes, I feel like I'm invisible, like no one really sees the struggle beneath the surface. People ask why I don't just make more money or try harder. But it's not that simple. There's this invisible ceiling that keeps me trapped. The system feels rigged against people like me, young adults trying to carve out a life when expenses rise faster than paychecks. It's like running on a treadmill that keeps speeding up while the finish line moves farther away. To cope, I try to hold on to the little things. Cooking meals at home instead of eating out, cutting back on subscriptions, and catching up with friends over walks instead of dinners out. I'm learning to be creative with what I have, but it can be lonely. Sometimes I avoid reaching out because I don't want to admit I'm struggling or burden others with my worries. There's also a quiet shame that comes with financial pressure. I feel like I'm failing at adulthood, the idea that by this age, I should have more stability, more security. Instead, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and it's hard not to internalize that as a personal failure when really it's the system failing me. But despite all of this, I try to hold on to hope. I remind myself that this isn't forever, even if it feels like it. I look for small wins, a day when I manage to save a little, a moment when I don't let anxiety take over. I cling to the belief that someday I'll be able to breathe easier, to finally pursue those postponed dreams. Maybe it's naive, or maybe it's necessary to keep going. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to survive the pressure and keep the spark alive. It's hard, but I'm still here, still hoping, still trying. That's something, right? It's hard to put into words the feeling of watching your bank balance shrink while your expenses seem to balloon overnight. I'm 26, working full-time in a job I'm grateful to have, but that gratitude often gets drowned out by this persistent, gnawing anxiety about money. Every month, the numbers never quite add up the way I want them to. It feels like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, while I'm stuck in place, gasping for breath. The economic landscape right now feels unforgiving. Rent prices keep climbing, and every time I walk into a grocery store, the cost of basic food staples has jumped again. Utilities, transportation, medical bills, they all seem to rise relentlessly, faster than my paycheck can stretch. My income is stable, yes, but it's stagnant. Raises are rare and usually don't come close to matching the rate at which prices rise. It's frustrating and, honestly, exhausting. Every day is a balancing act. I have to make choices I never imagined I'd have to think about so carefully. Do I cook another meal at home instead of going out with friends? Can I afford that emergency dentist visit this month, or will I have to wait and risk the pain? Should I skip the gym membership and just run outside, even though I know it's not the same? These decisions aren't just about convenience, they're about survival. I remember a time when I used to dream freely, traveling to new countries, saving for a down payment on a small apartment, even just buying nice things without second guessing. Those dreams feel distant now, almost like they belong to someone else. Instead of dreaming, I'm calculating. Calculating how much I can set aside each month, even if it's just $50, hoping it adds up someday. The worst part is the feeling of being trapped. It's like the system is designed to keep me tethered, expenses rising, income flatlining, debts accumulating. It's a loop with no clear exit. Every time I think I'm catching up, some unexpected bill sets me back again. Car repairs, medical copays, or a sudden spike in utility costs. These aren't luxuries or extras, they're necessities that remind me how fragile this balance is. Emotionally, it's draining. There's a low-level stress that never fully goes away. Sometimes I lie awake at night, worrying about money in a way that feels almost physical, a tightening in my chest, a restless energy that I can't shake. I've had moments where I felt ashamed, like I should be able to handle it better, like I'm failing somehow. But the truth is, the system makes it incredibly hard to keep your head above water without a safety net. Coping isn't easy. I try to hold on to the small things, a phone call with a friend, a quiet walk in the park, a good book, but sometimes even those feel like luxuries. I've learned to find comfort in routines, meal prepping on Sundays, budgeting with strict categories, tracking every expense. These habits give me a sense of control in an otherwise unpredictable situation. I've also leaned heavily on my support system. Talking openly with friends who are going through the same thing helps me feel less alone. We share advice, vent frustrations, and encourage each other to keep going. Sometimes, just knowing someone else understands makes a difference. But the hardest part is the postponement of dreams. I wanted to go back to school, to get a certification that could open doors to a better job. I dreamed of moving to a city where opportunities feel more abundant. I imagined saving enough to build a little security cushion. Each of those dreams is on hold, maybe indefinitely, because the immediate pressures demand all my focus and resources. I sometimes wonder what it would take to break free. A significant raise? An unexpected windfall? A shift in the economy? The truth is, I don't know. But I hold on to hope. Hope that the future might bring change, that the sacrifices I'm making now won't be in vain. I try to remind myself that my value isn't just tied to my bank account, and that resilience in hard times builds strength, even if it's painful. At the end of the day, living with ongoing financial pressure feels like carrying a weight you didn't choose but have to bear. It shapes every decision, colors every emotion, and forces you to confront what really matters. I'm still here, still trying, still hoping. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. I never thought I'd find myself here, stuck in this relentless loop where every month feels like I'm just trying to stay afloat, barely managing to keep my head above water. It's not like I'm irresponsible or careless with money. I've always tried to be smart, to budget, to save a little when I can, but the truth is, the costs keep rising faster than anything I earn. It's exhausting. I remember when I graduated college, I had this bright, naive hope that I'd land a job, start building a life, maybe even travel a bit. I had dreams, big ones. Buying a home one day, maybe starting a family, or just having the freedom to do what I want without constantly worrying about money. But reality hit hard, and it keeps hitting every single day. Rent in my city has skyrocketed, my paycheck feels like it's barely moving. Utilities, groceries, healthcare, transportation, they all keep creeping up, and each time I try to tighten the belt somewhere, something else breaks or needs fixing. It's like a game rigged against me. Every morning I wake up with this knot in my stomach. The first thought is always, what bills do I have to pay this month? Will I have enough left for food? Will I have to skip anything important? And that's just the start. It's a mental weight I carry all day, every day. Even when I'm at work or trying to enjoy some downtime, it's there, lurking. I try to push it away, but it doesn't go. I've had to make choices that no one my age should have to make. I skip doctor's appointments because I can't afford the copay. I buy the cheapest groceries, sometimes sacrificing nutrition just to save a few dollars. I use my car less to save on gas and maintenance, but it means I'm more isolated, missing out on social gatherings or opportunities because the bus schedule doesn't match up or I can't justify the fare. There was a time I thought I'd be able to go back to school, to advance my career and earn more, but that dream is on hold indefinitely. Tuition is another mountain I can't climb right now. It's humiliating sometimes, too. I hate feeling like I'm always the one asking for help or saying no to plans because of money. People don't always understand, or worse, they judge. They say things like, just get a better job, or if you really wanted it, you'd find a way. But it's not that simple. The job market is brutal, especially with inflation eating away at any raises or opportunities. I have a good job, but it's barely enough. The system feels like a trap, like you're running on a treadmill that speeds up every time you think you might catch your breath. Expenses go up, wages stay flat. The bills pile up. I'm doing everything right, but still falling behind. It's maddening. Sometimes, I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, overwhelmed by anxiety, wondering if I'll ever get out of this. If the future I imagined even exists for people like me. To cope, I've learned to find small pockets of peace. I keep a journal, writing down what I'm grateful for, even on the worst days. I talk to friends who understand, which helps more than they know. I set tiny goals, like saving just $20 a month, even when it feels pointless, because it gives me some sense of control. And I try to remind myself that this situation doesn't define me, even though it often feels like it does. There are moments of despair, sure. Nights when I cry alone because the pressure feels unbearable. Days when I feel invisible, stuck in a system that doesn't care if I succeed or fail. But I also hold on to hope, fragile as it is. Hope that one day, I'll have the financial freedom to breathe. That I can revisit those postponed dreams, traveling, owning a home, maybe even starting a family without the constant stress. That maybe I'll find a way to break the cycle, or that the system will change enough to give people like me a real chance. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time, fighting to keep going. Because what else can you do when life feels like this? I want to believe in a better future, not just for me, but for everyone caught in this endless struggle. And maybe, someday, telling this story won't feel so vulnerable. Maybe it'll just be a chapter one look back on, a challenge I overcame, not the weight I carry every day. But until then, this is my reality. I never thought I'd end up feeling this way, like I'm running a race where the finish line keeps moving farther away. I'm 27 now, and every day, it feels like I'm caught in this endless cycle of just trying to keep my head above water. The weight of money, or really, the lack of it, isn't just about bills or rent or groceries. It's this constant pressure that seeps into everything, my decisions, my moods, my hopes. And honestly, some days it feels like it's squeezing the life out of me. When I graduated college, I was hopeful. I thought, okay, I have a degree, a decent job lined up, and I'm ready to start building my life. But the economic landscape has been unforgiving. Wages haven't kept up with the rising cost of everything. Rent in the city has exploded, utilities, food, gas, everything just keeps climbing. Meanwhile, my paycheck stays the same, maybe nudges up a little here and there, but nowhere near enough to cover the difference. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole at the bottom. I live in a tiny apartment that costs way too much, and I'm constantly juggling bills. Some months I think I'm doing okay, and then out of nowhere, something breaks, the heater in winter, the fridge, a medical bill, and suddenly I'm scrambling. Credit card balances creep up because sometimes I have to rely on them to cover essentials, and then the interest just makes it worse. It feels like this trap, where the system is built to keep me just barely afloat, never really moving forward. It's not just the numbers. It's the feeling that no matter how hard I work, the financial pressure just won't let up. Some days I wake up with this heavy knot in my chest, a mix of anxiety and exhaustion. I try to push it down, but it lingers, coloring how I see everything. Even simple things, like meeting a friend for coffee or going to a movie, feel like a luxury I can't afford. When I do splurge, guilt follows like a shadow. Was that $10 latte really worth it? Should I have stayed home and saved that money? It's a constant internal debate. I've had to postpone so many dreams. Buying a car, something reliable, not just a clunker that barely makes it through winter, is a dream that feels distant. Traveling, which I always imagined would be a way to escape the grind and broaden my horizons, is on hold indefinitely. Even bigger dreams, like owning a home someday or saving for a family, feel like they might never happen. It's hard to think about the future when the present is this heavy. I cope in small ways. I've learned to budget ruthlessly, tracking every dollar and cutting out anything that isn't absolutely necessary. I picked up side gigs when I can, delivering food or freelancing, but those jobs come with their own costs, time, energy, exhaustion. I try to hold on to moments of joy, like reading, walking in the park, or catching a free event, but sometimes it feels like these tiny victories aren't enough to counterbalance the weight. There's a loneliness in all this, too. Friends who are doing better financially don't always understand what it's like. Some have started families, bought homes, traveled. It's hard not to compare, even though I know that's a dangerous trap. I want to believe that my time will come, that if I keep working hard and managing my finances carefully, I'll break free. But the fear that I'm stuck in this loop, where expenses outpace income and dreams stay on hold, sometimes feels overwhelming. I wish people could see past the surface. That being broke isn't just about bad choices or laziness. It's about a system that doesn't work for so many of us, where economic forces are stacked against young adults trying to build a stable life. I'm trying to hold on to hope, but some nights, it's hard. Still, I keep moving forward. Because what other choice do I have? I remind myself that this is just one chapter, not the whole story. And maybe someday, the race will get easier. Until then, I'm here, running as fast as I can, hoping to outrun the growing gap that tries to hold me back. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I still remember the day I realized I was trapped, not by bars or chains, but by the relentless, invisible grip of financial pressure. I was 24, fresh out of college, hopeful and ready to build my life. But instead of progress, I found myself stuck in a cycle where my expenses rose faster than my income, each month a little heavier than the last. That realization didn't come with a bang, it crept in slowly, like a shadow stretching across every part of my life. Every morning begins with a familiar routine. I check my bank balance on my phone before even getting out of bed. It's a ritual I dread but can't escape. Sometimes the numbers give me a small flicker of hope, but most days, they just remind me of how tight things are. Rent alone eats up more than half of what I bring home. Utilities and groceries keep inching upward, as if mocking my efforts. I live in a small apartment with 2 roommates because renting alone is a fantasy I can't afford. Splitting the cost helps, but it's still a struggle. The space is cramped, and privacy is a luxury I rarely enjoy. The economic environment feels like a tide that keeps rising while I'm stuck on a shore, unable to climb higher. Prices of everyday essentials jump month after month: gas, food, medical care, while my salary barely budges. I've tried to ask for raises, to find better paying jobs, but opportunities are scarce and competition fierce. Meanwhile, inflation makes every dollar I earn worth less. It's a system that seems designed to keep people like me barely surviving. This pressure isn't just about money, it seeps into my emotional well-being. Anxiety has become a constant companion. I avoid making plans with friends because I can't afford to go out or even order a coffee without guilt gnawing at me. The feeling of isolation grows heavier with each passing day. I don't tell many people how tight things are because I don't want to seem like I'm failing or that I'm different from my peers. But inside, the stress is loud. I reflect often on the dreams I've had to postpone. I wanted to go back to school and finish my degree, to build a career that would allow me some breathing room. I dreamed of traveling, of experiencing the world beyond my city's limits. I hoped to save money, buy a car, maybe even own a small place of my own one day. All those plans feel distant, like dreams belonging to someone else's life. Instead, I'm caught up in immediate survival, and long-term goals have been pushed to the back burner indefinitely. To cope, I've become hyper-aware of every cent. I budget obsessively, clip coupons, cook all my meals at home, and avoid any unnecessary purchases. I work overtime when I can, sacrificing rest and social time, just to keep up. It's exhausting, physically, emotionally, mentally, but I have little choice. Sometimes, I celebrate small victories, paying off a bill early, managing to save a few dollars, or simply making it through the month without falling behind. There are moments when the weight feels unbearable, and I wonder if things will ever get better. But I hold on to hope, fragile as it is. I connect with others who share similar struggles, and their stories remind me I'm not alone. I try to believe that one day, the cycle will break, that hard work will lead to more than just survival, but to a life where I can breathe freely again. This ongoing pressure is real, and it's raw. It's shaped who I am in ways I'm still trying to understand. But telling this story, speaking openly about the fear, the fatigue, and the quiet hope beneath it all, that feels like reclaiming a bit of control. Because even when trapped, I'm still here. Still trying. Still dreaming. I wake up every morning feeling like I'm stuck in quicksand. The harder I try to pull myself up, the deeper I sink. I'm 27, working full-time, but it feels like no matter how much effort I put in, I'm barely moving forward. The world around me is changing fast, rent hikes, soaring grocery prices, gas costs climbing out of control, all while my paycheck stays stubbornly the same. It's like running on a treadmill that's speeding up, and no matter how fast I run, I'm not getting anywhere. When I graduated college, I thought I had a plan. I believed that with my degree and work ethic, I'd land a decent job, build some savings, and start carving out a stable life. But the economy had other ideas. Inflation started creeping up, housing prices exploded, and suddenly, the paycheck that once felt enough began shrinking in value. Every month, I watch my expenses climb faster than my income, and it feels like I'm trapped in a system designed to keep me just afloat, never rising, never breaking free. Rent is the biggest weight on my shoulders. My tiny apartment takes more than half my income. I found this place a couple of years ago thinking it was affordable. But every lease renewal brings another increase, market adjustments, they say, and I'm left squeezing tighter. The idea of moving somewhere cheaper scares me. Cheaper places mean longer commutes or less safe neighborhoods, and sometimes it feels like choosing between bad options. I'm stuck in this expensive bubble with no easy escape. Food, once a source of comfort, has become a source of stress. I used to enjoy cooking, trying new recipes, filling my fridge with fresh produce. Now, I budget every grocery trip like it's a test, leaning heavily on canned and frozen foods because they're cheaper and last longer. Some days I skip meals to make sure I can pay rent or utilities. It's humiliating and exhausting, and I worry about what this does to my health, physically and mentally. But when prices climb faster than my paycheck, what choice do I have? Social life? It's nearly vanished. Friends invite me out for coffee, drinks, dinners, but even those small things feel like luxuries I can't afford. I say no more often than yes, and the isolation settles deep. People don't always understand, or maybe they think I'm just pulling away. But the truth is, money dictates what I can do. It's lonely, and that loneliness adds another layer to the pressure. Work is my lifeline and my cage. I'm grateful to have a steady job, but raises are small and rare, never enough to keep up with inflation. I think about switching careers, going back to school, or picking up side gigs, but exhaustion and fear hold me back. After working 40 hours a week, I barely have energy left. It feels like I'm just surviving, not thriving. Emotionally, the pressure is overwhelming. Anxiety clings to me like a shadow. Nights are the hardest. I lie awake, imagining worst-case scenarios, medical emergencies, car troubles, unexpected bills, and how quickly they could unravel everything. Without a safety net or savings, any emergency feels catastrophic. That fear seeps into every corner of my life, draining joy and hope. I've had to postpone so many dreams. Traveling the world, buying a home, starting a family, those things feel distant, like luxuries other people get to enjoy. Instead, I focus on the immediate, paying bills on time, covering rent, trying to save a little, even if it's just a few dollars. Dreaming big feels almost impossible when you're just trying to get by. To cope, I cling to small escapes. I walk in the park, listen to music, get lost in library books. I budget obsessively, tracking every cent, cutting out anything that isn't essential. I've learned to be honest with a few close friends about what I'm going through. That vulnerability helps, even if it's scary. Sometimes, just being heard is a relief. Still, I hold on to hope. Fragile and flickering, but real. I believe better days are possible, maybe through a new job, a change in the economy, or a chance I haven't seen yet. I imagine waking up one morning without this crushing weight, breathing freely, dreaming freely. Until then, I take it day by day, reminding myself that surviving this is its own kind of strength. This is my story, living caught in a system where expenses rise faster than income, where every choice is shadowed by money worries, and where dreams wait patiently on the sidelines. But it's also a story of resilience and honesty. Maybe by sharing it, I'm not alone. And maybe, someone reading this feels less alone too. I never thought I'd feel this way at 27. Like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up every day, and no matter how fast I move, I'm stuck in the same place, or worse, slipping backward. It's exhausting, this constant push and pull with money. Every time I get a little ahead, the bills stretch out their hands wider, like some cruel joke I can't laugh at. I remember when I first moved out on my own, fresh out of college. I had a decent job lined up, and I felt, naively, maybe, like I could build a stable life. Rent was reasonable back then, or so I thought. My paycheck covered the basics with a little left over. I dreamed of traveling, buying a car, maybe even starting to save for a place of my own someday. But those days feel like a lifetime ago. Now, every month is a balancing act. Rent alone takes more than half my income. Utilities keep climbing, electricity, water, internet, and I can't cut back without making life uncomfortable. Groceries cost more than I expected, especially when you try to eat healthy and not just rely on cheap carbs. Transportation eats up what little I can spare if I don't want to be late or miss shifts. The pressure is relentless. It's not just the numbers. It's the feeling of being trapped inside a system that doesn't care about you. Inflation races ahead, but wages crawl along, inch by inch. My boss tells me the company is tight on budget, raises are minimal or non-existent. I work hard, often overtime, and yet the difference it makes feels like a drop in the ocean. I see the ads for luxury cars, vacations, the latest gadgets, and wonder who exactly they're for, if not for people like me who work 2 jobs just to scrape by. Every day, I'm making choices that chip away at my peace of mind. Do I pay the credit card bill in full or cover the car repair that just popped up? Should I skip a meal or stay home instead of seeing friends? These decisions feel like constant negotiations with myself, sacrifices piled on sacrifices. There's a weight to it that's hard to explain. It's not just stress, it's this deep, gnawing anxiety that something catastrophic will happen and I'll have no safety net. A medical bill, a lost job, a broken appliance, any one of those could tip everything into chaos. Sometimes, I lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, wondering how long I can keep this up before everything falls apart. I cope in little ways, mostly by trying to find moments of calm in the chaos. Music helps, something soothing, something that makes me feel less alone. Sometimes I journal, pouring out my frustrations and fears, hoping the act of writing will somehow unburden me. I reach out to friends when I can, but I rarely talk about money with them because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining or failing. There's a stigma, you know? Like if you can't keep up, you're not trying hard enough. And yet, I try. I pick up freelance gigs when I can, take on extra shifts, watch every dollar I spend like a hawk. I make meal plans, buy in bulk, hunt for discounts. But it feels like a Sisyphean task. Just when I think I've saved enough to breathe a little, a new expense crops up and pulls me under again. I think about the dreams I've had to put on hold. I wanted to move to a city where there were more opportunities, to maybe go back to school for a degree that could open doors. I wanted to start investing, build a future where I wasn't always worried about money. I imagined traveling, seeing the world beyond this small bubble of struggle. But each of those dreams feels like a luxury I can't afford, not now, maybe not ever. Sometimes I ask myself if it's all worth it. If the grind, the sacrifices, the endless worry will ever lead to something better. But then I remind myself of the small victories, the month I managed to save a little emergency fund, the time I paid off a chunk of debt, the day I didn't skip lunch even when I was tempted. These moments matter. They keep me moving forward, even if the pace is slow. What keeps me hopeful is the idea that change is possible. That maybe one day the economy will reflect the reality of people like me, not just those at the top. That wages will catch up with costs, that work will be valued, that I'll have the freedom to make choices not driven by desperation but by possibility. I want to believe in a future where financial pressure isn't the background noise of every day. Until then, I hold on to the hope that my persistence counts for something. That this pressure, this constant balancing act, won't define my entire life. I want to believe that even in this suffocating system, there's space for growth, for joy, for dreams deferred but not forgotten. I'm tired, yes. But I'm not giving up. Not yet. Because giving up feels like losing a part of myself, and I'm not ready to do that either. I remember the day I really felt the weight of it all, the crushing, invisible weight that no one warns you about before you're drowning in it. I'm 26 now, and for years I've been caught in this relentless squeeze of finances. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up just as you're gasping for breath, and no matter how fast or how hard you push, you never get anywhere. Every month the bills grow, the rent climbs, the prices at the grocery store inch higher, and my paycheck? It barely moves. I work full-time, often late hours, sometimes picking up shifts on weekends, trying to keep my head above water. But the truth is, it's never enough. Rent takes up nearly half of what I earn, and even though I share a cramped apartment with 2 roommates, it still feels like I'm paying for a cage. The heat and electric bills climb higher every season, and the cost of groceries makes each trip to the store feel like a gamble. What can I afford this week? Fresh fruit or the cheaper canned stuff? Gas for my car or just enough to get me to work? It's maddening. Every day is a puzzle, a careful balancing act that leaves me exhausted before I even leave the house. I've learned to count every penny, to weigh every choice with brutal honesty. Can I afford to take the bus and risk being late? Should I skip lunch so I can afford the utility bill? Sometimes I think about calling my parents, but I don't want to add to their worries. I don't want to admit that despite working my ass off, I'm still falling behind. The financial stress isn't just about money, it's like a shadow following me, tightening around my chest, seeping into my mood and my relationships. I find myself saying no to friends' invitations, not because I don't want to be there, but because I can't afford to be. Even a cup of coffee or a movie ticket feels like a luxury. Sometimes I feel so isolated, like I'm watching life happen around me while I'm stuck in this endless loop of bills and budgets. The loneliness is brutal. And then there are the dreams I've had to put on hold: education, travel, independence. I wanted to finish my degree, to go back to school and build a career that could offer stability, but the cost is too high, and I can't afford the time or the money. Traveling? A distant memory of what once seemed possible. I thought about saving for a car, maybe even a small place of my own someday, but those dreams feel like they belong to someone else's life, far away from this daily grind. To cope, I've become almost surgical with my budget. Every dollar is tracked. I cook every meal, no takeout or dining out, and I hunt for sales and discounts like my life depends on it, because it does. I pick up extra shifts even when I'm exhausted, sacrificing sleep and personal time. Some days it feels like I'm running on empty, but I keep moving because what else can I do? There are moments when the weight of it all is almost too much, when I feel like giving up, like I'm failing despite everything. But I hold on to hope, however fragile it is. Hope that one day the system will shift, or I'll find a way to break free from this cycle. That maybe I'll get a raise, or a better job, or a break that lets me breathe. Until then, I live this quiet struggle, sometimes invisible, often lonely, but real. I'm sharing this because I know I'm not alone. There are so many of us caught in this trap, fighting just to get by while the world moves on. It's exhausting, it's painful, but it's also my reality. And even in this, I'm still here. Still dreaming. Still trying. Some days, it feels like I'm drowning, just below the surface, desperately gasping for air but caught in a current that pulls me deeper. I'm 25 years old, working a steady job, and yet, the pressure of money feels like an unshakable weight, pressing down harder with each passing month. The truth is, expenses keep climbing, faster than my paycheck can follow, and I'm trapped in this endless cycle where every choice I make is defined by what I can afford, or more often, what I can't. When I first entered the workforce, I was optimistic. I thought that by getting a degree and landing a good job, I'd be set. I imagined a life where I could save, travel, maybe buy a home one day. But the reality is harsher. Rent keeps going up. Food costs rise. Utilities, transportation, healthcare, they all inch higher and higher. My income barely moves, stagnant in the face of relentless inflation. It's like running on a treadmill that's accelerating, and no matter how hard I run, I'm stuck in the same place. My apartment alone devours over half my monthly income. I live in a cramped, aging unit in a neighborhood that's become more expensive every year. When I first moved in, it was within my budget. Now, the landlord raises rent every time the lease renews, citing market conditions. It's maddening because I don't have the luxury to move elsewhere. Cheaper places are either unsafe or require a long, costly commute. I'm caught in this tightening grip of housing insecurity, and it feels like there's no escape hatch. Food used to be something I looked forward to, cooking, sharing meals with friends, trying new recipes. But now, it's a source of anxiety. I budget groceries down to the last cent, often choosing canned or frozen food over fresh because it lasts longer and costs less. Sometimes I skip meals to make sure I have enough money for rent or bills. It's humiliating, and I hate how it makes me feel. The toll it takes on my body and mind is profound, but when prices climb relentlessly, choices shrink. Socially, I'm isolated more than I want to admit. Friends invite me out for dinners, drinks, or weekend trips. I say no more than yes because even small expenses feel like luxuries I can't afford. There's a quiet loneliness in that, feeling left out, misunderstood, as if my financial struggles separate me from the people I care about. The emotional strain of that loneliness compounds the daily stress. Work is both a lifeline and a source of frustration. I'm grateful for the steady paycheck, but raises are rare and never enough to keep up with rising costs. I think about switching jobs, going back to school, or picking up side gigs, but the exhaustion and uncertainty hold me back. After long workdays, I'm drained physically and mentally. The prospect of juggling more responsibilities feels overwhelming. Most days, I'm surviving, not thriving. The emotional weight is immense. Anxiety creeps in constantly. I lie awake at night imagining the worst, car breaking down, medical bills piling up, an unexpected expense pushing me over the edge. Without any savings, any small crisis feels like it could ruin everything. That fear is exhausting. It drains hope and joy, leaving me in a fog of worry. I've had to postpone dreams that once felt so attainable. Traveling, owning a home, even thinking about starting a family, they feel like distant fantasies. Instead, I focus on immediate survival, paying rent, utilities, and trying to stash away even a tiny emergency fund. Dreaming feels like a luxury I can't afford. To cope, I hold on to small anchors. I take walks in the nearby park, lose myself in books from the library, listen to music that lifts my spirits. I've become almost obsessive about budgeting, tracking every penny, cutting out anything non-essential, even little pleasures that once brought me joy. I share my struggles with a few trusted friends, and that honesty provides relief. It helps to know I'm not completely alone in this. Still, I cling to hope. Fragile and flickering, but real. I believe that someday things will get better, maybe through a new job opportunity, a shift in the economy, or a chance I haven't yet seen. I imagine waking up one morning without this crushing weight on my chest, breathing freely, dreaming freely again. Until then, I take it one day at a time, reminding myself that enduring this hardship is a form of strength in itself. This is my story, a young adult caught in a system where expenses grow faster than income, where every decision is shadowed by financial stress, and where dreams wait quietly on the sidelines. But it is also a story of resilience and honesty. Maybe by telling it, I'm not alone. And maybe someone reading this feels less alone too. Some days it feels like I'm treading water in a storm that never lets up. I wake up, I check my bank account, and the numbers barely move. I pore over bills, rent, groceries, phone, electricity, all of it bleeding me dry while my paycheck sits stubbornly the same. The cost of everything keeps climbing, but my income? It's like a rusty bike chain, stuck and refusing to budge. I feel trapped inside this system, where expenses balloon faster than any chance I have of catching up. I'm 26, living in a city that used to feel full of possibility. I came here fresh out of college, clutching a degree and big dreams, dreams of stability, of independence, of finally building a life where money wouldn't be a constant shadow lurking behind every choice. But reality smacked me hard. Rent is a constant fight. It's like handing over half my paycheck every month just to keep a roof over my head, and I'm stuck in a tiny apartment with thin walls and a leaky faucet because that's all I can afford. I'm lucky I have a job, sure, but it's barely enough. I see friends moving into better places, taking trips, going out on weekends, things that feel like luxuries I had once thought were normal. Everyday decisions feel like a minefield. Should I buy groceries now or save a little and risk going hungry a day? Can I fill up my gas tank, or do I have to take the bus and spend more time commuting? Do I dare text my friends back and say I can't afford to meet up? Every choice reminds me of the tightrope I'm balancing on, one misstep away from falling into debt or missing a payment. It's exhausting. I feel like I'm constantly doing math in my head, weighing costs and benefits just to survive the week. And emotionally? It's a roller coaster I didn't sign up for. Some mornings, I wake up with this heavy knot in my chest, anxiety crushing the air in my lungs before I even get out of bed. The weight of not knowing if this month I'll scrape by or be forced to borrow from a credit card I already hate. I try to stay hopeful, but hope is fragile when you're tired all the time. At night, when everything quiets down, the loneliness creeps in, a bitter reminder that I'm stuck in this grind alone. It's hard to explain the isolation that comes from feeling like you don't have the financial freedom to connect, to participate, to live fully. I've had to postpone so many things. The idea of saving for a trip, or even just a weekend getaway, feels like a joke. Buying new clothes? Only if absolutely necessary. I put off doctor visits, dental cleanings, even replacing my old phone because the costs add up and I have to prioritize bills that keep the lights on. I used to dream about buying a home someday, about starting a family, or even just having a stable emergency fund, but those dreams feel like distant galaxies now, far beyond my reach. Instead, I'm stuck thinking about how to pay for a meal tonight. Coping is its own battle. I've learned to stretch every dollar as if it's my lifeline. Coupon apps, secondhand stores, cooking at home, and cutting out any extras. I sometimes take on extra shifts or freelance gigs, but the exhaustion follows me like a shadow. I remind myself to be grateful for what I do have, a roof, a steady job, supportive friends who understand without judgment, but gratitude only goes so far when your body and mind are worn thin. I'm constantly torn between fighting for a better future and just surviving today. Some nights I lie awake, heart pounding, imagining what it would feel like to break free, to breathe without that constant financial tightrope pulling me down. I think about going back to school, switching careers, or starting my own business, but all of those require resources I don't have. It's a vicious cycle that's hard to escape when the system feels rigged against people like me. What keeps me going, though, is the small moments of light, a text from a friend who just gets it, a quiet morning with coffee and a book, a moment of peace when the world feels less heavy. I hold on to the hope that this isn't my forever. That maybe, with time, things will shift. That I'll find a way to build a life where I'm not just surviving but thriving. But right now, in this moment, the weight of financial pressure is real, palpable, and relentless. And if I'm honest, it's terrifying. This is my truth, the ongoing struggle, the emotional toll, the postponed dreams. But it's also my story of resilience, of holding on even when the system feels like it's holding me down. And maybe that's enough for now. I never thought I'd find myself caught in this endless loop, the kind that makes you feel like you're treading water but sinking at the same time. Every morning, I wake up with this heavy weight pressing down on my chest, the same one that has settled in over the last few years, tightening like a noose made of invisible bills and debts. It's funny, or maybe just cruel, how money, or the lack of it, can shape everything about your life, from the way you dress to the way you dream. I'm 27 now, and I remember when I graduated college, full of hope and ambition. I thought the world was this vast ocean of opportunity. Instead, it's felt more like quicksand. The economy keeps shifting, prices rising faster than any raise or new job I can land. Rent's gone up twice in the past year, groceries are almost unrecognizable compared to what they cost back then, and every utility bill feels like a punch to the gut. It's not just about being broke, it's this crushing pressure that eats at you day and night. Like you're on a treadmill that's speeding up, and no matter how fast you run, you're still stuck in the same place, or worse, falling behind. I work 2 part-time jobs. One's at a local cafe, the other's some freelance graphic design gigs I pick up when I can. I thought freelancing would be my way out, a chance to break free from the 9-to-5 grind, but it's unpredictable. Some months I make enough to cover my essentials, and other months I'm scrambling just to pay for gas. The cafe job pays minimum wage, which is a joke when you factor in the time spent commuting and the physical toll it takes. Still, I'm grateful to have them, but gratitude doesn't pay the electric bill. The hardest part is the feeling of invisibility, like you're just a number on a spreadsheet somewhere. I fill out applications for better-paying jobs, but most require experience I can't get without working them first, or they expect skills I can't afford to learn because courses and certifications cost money I don't have. And then there's the economy itself, unpredictable and unforgiving, making everything feel like a gamble I'm destined to lose. Everyday decisions are a battlefield. Do I buy the prescription medication I need this month or do I put food on the table? Should I finally replace my worn-out shoes, knowing it'll cost me nearly a week's groceries? Sometimes, I go without. I eat less so I can pay more toward rent, and that emptiness in my stomach becomes a constant reminder of my limits. Social outings are rare because even a coffee with friends means money I don't want to spend. It's isolating, and the loneliness creeps in alongside the financial stress. There are nights when I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the dreams I've had to shelve. I wanted to travel, to see the world beyond my city's borders. I dreamed of owning my own home someday, a small but cozy place with a little garden. I imagined building a life where money wasn't the biggest obstacle, where I could breathe without counting every cent. But those dreams feel so distant now, like stars twinkling just beyond my reach. I know I'm not alone in this, but it doesn't make the suffocating feeling any easier. Sometimes, I catch myself fantasizing about hitting the jackpot or finding some sudden windfall. Ridiculous, I know, but hope is a stubborn thing. It keeps me going, even when everything else feels like it's slipping away. I cope by clinging to small moments of joy, a good book borrowed from the library, a walk in the park where the world feels a little less harsh, or the rare evening when I can just sit quietly and breathe without worry for a moment. I've learned to be frugal, almost obsessively so. Coupons, second-hand stores, bulk buying when I can afford it. I've become an expert at stretching every dollar, but it's exhausting. There's this constant mental math, the calculus of survival, and it wears on your spirit. I've watched friends move on to careers and milestones I can barely imagine, and sometimes that comparison feels like salt rubbed into an open wound. Yet, despite all this, there's a stubborn ember inside me that refuses to go out. I remind myself that this isn't the whole story, just a hard chapter. Maybe one day, the tide will turn, and the effort I'm putting in now will open a door I can't even see yet. I want to believe in that future, a future where I'm not just surviving but thriving, where money isn't a source of constant anxiety but a tool that lets me live fully. For now, I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping. And maybe that's enough. It's hard to find the right words to describe how it feels to live like this, caught in a never-ending squeeze where money tightens around you like a noose, but there's no clear way out. I'm 26, working full-time, doing my best to keep my head above water, but the truth is, it feels like I'm drowning in bills, expenses, and rising costs that never stop chasing me. When I finished college, I was hopeful. I thought I'd get a job, maybe even start saving a little, and eventually build a life. But that was before the world shifted. Inflation hit hard, rents ballooned, groceries got expensive, and the wages I'm earning barely keep pace. It's like the goalposts are constantly moving farther away, no matter how hard I push myself. I feel trapped in a system that doesn't seem built for people like me, where costs climb faster than paychecks, and financial stability feels like a distant dream. My rent alone takes up more than half of my paycheck every month. The place I live isn't much, a small apartment in a part of town that's become more expensive over the last few years. Every time the lease comes up, the rent goes up too. The landlord calls it market adjustment, but to me, it just feels like a squeeze on an already tight budget. I've thought about moving somewhere cheaper, but that usually means giving up safety, adding hours to my commute, or ending up in a place that doesn't feel like home. So I stay, paying more, feeling more stretched, and wondering how long I can keep this up. Food used to be a comfort. I loved cooking, experimenting with recipes, and sharing meals with friends. Now, I budget every grocery trip down to the last cent, picking canned and frozen goods because they're cheaper and last longer. Some weeks, I skip meals or eat less just so I can cover rent or a bill that popped up unexpectedly. It's embarrassing to admit, but it's reality. And it wears me down, both physically and emotionally. I've become a ghost in my social circle. Invitations to dinners, movies, or weekend trips get declined more often than not because I just can't afford it. It's lonely, feeling like I'm standing on the sidelines of my own life, watching others live while I count every penny. People don't always understand that it's not just about being careful with money, it's about making impossible choices, choosing between food and utilities, medication or rent. That isolation is its own kind of pain. Work helps and hurts at the same time. I'm thankful to have a job, but the pay raises are tiny, and they come so infrequently. They don't keep up with the rising costs of everything else. I've thought about going back to school, switching careers, or picking up side gigs, but after long days and nights filled with worry, I don't have the energy. Most days, I feel like I'm running just to stand still. The anxiety is constant. At night, I lie awake imagining what would happen if my car broke down, or if I got sick, or if some unexpected bill came through the door. Without savings or a safety net, any one of those things could push me into crisis. That fear gnaws at me, sometimes so deeply I can't focus on anything else. It drains my hope and steals my joy. There are dreams I've had to put away. Traveling, owning a home, starting a family, those hopes feel far off, almost impossible. Instead, I focus on the basics, keeping the lights on, the rent paid, and trying to put a little aside for emergencies, even if it's just a few dollars. Dreaming big feels like a luxury I can't afford. To get through it, I hold on to small things, walks in the park, music that lifts me up, books from the library that let me escape for a while. I keep a meticulous budget and cut out any spending that isn't essential, even if it means giving up things I love. I've started opening up to close friends about how hard it really is, and sharing the truth has helped more than I expected. Sometimes just knowing I'm not completely alone makes the weight a little lighter. Still, I try to hold on to hope. It's fragile, but it's there. I believe that someday, maybe through a new job, a better opportunity, or some shift in the world, things will get better. I imagine waking up one morning without this suffocating pressure, breathing freely, dreaming freely again. Until then, I take it one day at a time, reminding myself that surviving this is a quiet kind of strength. This is my story, a young adult caught in a system where costs outpace income, where every decision is shaded by money worries, and where dreams wait patiently in the wings. But it's also a story of resilience and honesty. Maybe by sharing it, I'm not alone. And maybe someone reading this feels less alone too. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.